he got to listen to the nurse like talk through everything that could have happened or is happening, and that was super helpful for me because again, I'm not alone. So that was just so sweet, and I was just, I mean, you can imagine how devastating, and I'm like in bed, went to sleep right away, just so sad, and I can count on my fingers how many times I've actually like felt so low in life because I'm not, I don't really like get depressed or like really stuck in my emotions.
There's grief.
It's real.
A loss. It's real grief, and like you said, that there's so many people who are, for various reasons, not sharing about it at the time because you're kind of walking through it and processing it too. The
it's
fact that
hard.
you can sit here and share about it now is ministry to other people, and that they may want to hold that and kind of figure out how they want to say it, what they're even feeling. It's hard. Not everybody can process in the middle of the grief, you know. But we're so grateful that you're willing to share that with us.
I think it's important too, like that women, and not that it needs to be like, you know, worldwide national news type thing, but I think it's important that like women in your community do know those things and those struggles you've been through too, just because they can, because that was huge for me to realize like, oh, my friend's been through this. I can text her and see hey, how long did you guys wait to try again? You know, different things, because if I didn't know about that, I would again feel alone. So I think it's important, at least with your like immediate friend group or whatever, to just, when you're ready, like talk about those things.
So that's great advice. That's great
expectations
advice.
versus reality.
That's right.
So what is something that as after Levi was born, then the reality of kind of your first few nights, the first few months, you know, I mean, I know
he's a little peanut.
He's a little peanut.
Did he get to come home right away, or
so we were in the hospital probably just a few days longer, maybe. So I think we got him.
So you brought home a really tiny person.
It was tiny. So I mean, putting him in even a preemie little outfit to get a little like video of him in the hospital for like his little announcement. It was like a joke because
it was still so big.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, amazing. We showed up and like two friends were already there bringing us preemie diapers. Like it was just, nice. But I mean, it was rough. I had to have a C-section, obviously. So I mean, wow. Like leaving the, first of all, I mean, that's just,
recovery.
Recovery is something, I mean, I wouldn't know what it is naturally, but C-section, that was, I mean.
It's a lot harder. C-section is a lot harder. I've had both, and Diane's had C-sections.
I've had 4 cesareans, so it's truly a remarkable accomplishment. I mean, I think any way you have a baby is.
Absolutely.
But it is crazy. It is a lot. It's a major surgery. Like a lot of people kind of think, oh, you know, no, it's like a big deal.
It is something. I've never even had a surgery. Like I've never experienced a surgery. So. But so funny thing, you know, I'm a planner and all the things. So we planned,
capital P planner and lowercase p planner.
We planned according to God's will as best as possible. You know, he knew our hearts, and we really wanted the baby when Gabe was off.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the Well Grounded Podcast. I am Diane.
And I am Leigh Ann.
And we are 2 lifelong friends enjoying time over coffee and conversations. And we are in season 2 of the Sisterhood of Motherhood. And we are already into month 4 of this season, which I just can't believe it. It has just gone by so fast. And we've had all these great guest speakers to come on, and we have just been able to just give you some insights. And as we've said before, best practices on mothering. And I hope you've enjoyed this journey with us, because we've certainly enjoyed keeping up with our friends and just being able to have these conversations.
Yes. And you're going to see some themes, some big ideas that we're not even intentionally doing. I think they just come up in this whole conversation about sisterhood of motherhood, and that how that looks, building community, honoring God, best practices, all the things that we want to share with you on this. So it was really fun. This particular one was really a neat conversation, and we just get the chance to take some time today to expand that out, go a little deeper on these topics, and reflect on when we were
it is. It's moms. Kind of, we call these our reflection episodes, and I think part of it is half reflection and half like reminiscing because we really have enjoyed kind of taking that time to actually go back and think about some of these things, especially this topic, because it is about their expectation versus reality of being a new mom. And, you know, we have a wonderful guest, Amanda, that joined us last time, and she just shared her journey to becoming a mom. And I think it was a great, you know, a lot of lessons in there that we can unpack today.
And you might remember that we did a similar topic with a different guest previously.
Yes.
And that expectation versus reality for new moms, I think, is a game changer.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to introduce a couple of different young moms
Yeah.
that we have a lot of respect for.
Yes.
That we're proud of, if that's the thing to say. But we're just really proud of them and wanted to give them a chance to share how they're approaching things with you. So go back and watch the previous episode. Would have released 2 weeks ago, and it shares a story from Amanda Borrero. Yes, I said that. I was like confident there, and then I was not confident.
And before we just dive right in, we're going to go and just revisit what our latte moment was last time. And every episode we try to have a latte moment, and we are just referencing what it was last time. It was a red velvet latte, which was in the season of Valentine's, the month of February, the season of love. And so it was very delicious. And the recipe is in the show notes, and you can go back and look at that under Well Grounded Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. So you can find us on all those different platforms. So make sure to look into that.
Annie F. Downs says, I'm embarrassing easy to find.
Yes.
I love that. That's us too. We're embarrassingly easy to find.
And we are just excited to, you know, we're hoping that in our next season, as we plan that coming up, that one of your coffee drinks could make it into that episode.
Yes.
And so be thinking about that. We're going to have some different things on social media that you can pitch your favorite coffee drink so that we can
call
do
it
that.
out.
Yes.
Who suggested it for us?
So I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, but really those giveaways, those fun interactive things on our Instagram account is a great way to like stay in touch and to get some additional content between episodes dropping. So episodes are every other Monday.
Yes.
And so we are excited to share with y'all today and get to confess that we are reminiscing about our own, but it gives more time when we have a guest.
It does.
They get to talk about, we're not interrupting them as much with our stories as we know we have our own episode to talk. So it's good to see you, friends.
It is. It's
so fun.
It's fun.
So let's jump in. I wanted to just do a quick recap because one of the things about getting to talk about this is looking at the conversation that we had and extending that out a little bit. And really cool interview with Amanda. She covered so much. Go back and watch that one. She covered so much about her birth story, about owning a business and having a baby. Started her business the first year they were married.
Yes.
Their long relationship because they dated from high school and waited several years to start their family. They had a miscarriage, heartbreak in there. But she just kept pointing us back to how the trust in the Lord and in these precious friends that just kept showing up for them.
Yes. The community.
But that community is essential with that. I mean, having a preemie, having a C-section. I mean, almost everything on the check box that you can have in one pregnancy, in 1 year of marriage, they were facing with this. And they have a beautiful, wonderful son now.
Yes.
And she is loving motherhood. But so go back. It's a very encouraging story, but she's very vulnerable in sharing a lot of things that she went through. One of the cool things about our conversation, though, that I wanted to highlight for a second is that we ended up having this little pivot about marriage.
Yeah.
And just as she's sharing her story, she just kept saying these really precious things about her husband and how he was there for her at some vulnerable times that they walked through it together.
Yeah.
And it really seems like it brought them closer. And I just wanted to share just a quick minute on things that you face in early marriage or maybe as early parents, even if you've been married for years, but it's the first time you've been parents.
Yeah.
First time parenthood, 10 years into parenthood, 20 years into parenthood, there is a depth that God develops in marriage when you lean into each other that your kids draw out of you.
Absolutely.
And yes, you can have amazing marriages before kids or if you don't have children, but there is this added piece that I don't think you can plan for. And we've shared about needing our husbands in a way. There's a vulnerability. I'm a pretty independent person. You're a very independent person too. I mean, it's not that I can't do anything without my husband helping me. You know, it's not that kind of,
it's not that
it's
at
not
all.
a fake, it's not a fake need. Like, oh, I need you to take care of me. You know, it's this genuine weakness that we go through when we've had a baby. That helps us to, as Amanda would say, ask for help. Whether that's from friends or from your husband. But I just wanted to share just really quickly on this marriage piece. It's Valentine's month. It's February. We're celebrating love and all of that. But it was just an unexpected kind of turn in the conversation that we weren't planning to talk about marriage, but it sort
before
of
you do that, I did want to just share a little bit too with Amanda that she'd referenced that they knew each other through high school, sweethearts.
That's right.
And they were married 7 years before they had their son Levi. And I think that's very important information because not everybody's story is, dating, marriage, and have children. And I think their time that they've had, they had a very established marriage, and we know other friends that have done that and stuff. And there is a little difference to that, and some people get married and then they have a pregnancy right away, and there's no right or wrong to that. It's just, it's different for every person and a different perspective. And I think what's neat about it is that God's going to use that in different ways with different seasons.
So
good. I think that's a really
a good point. That's
thing.
A very good point.
Yeah.
And even, with the other story that we shared with our friend Leigh Ann, they dated for years and knew each other, but after marriage, their baby Evelyn came sooner,
Very soon.
and so that pivot in that, like Diane said, it's not like there's a wrong way. It's just you're building different building blocks. You're starting at a different point. So the world might tell you there's a perfect way to do this, and they're not right.
They're
about
not right.
That. That's not true.
Agreed.
It's how the Lord is leading you as a family, and He will strengthen you to get through that. But I just want to share really quickly. A few years ago, just in seeking and studying about marriage for my own marriage and for my life, and some women's Bible study things I was involved in, I stumbled across 1 Peter 3 and had what's called an Amplified Bible, and it talked about that first verse that's kind of controversial that people get all upset about, like, well, submit to your husbands in the same way submit to your husbands. And it also says to your own husbands, which the indication there is like, it's not women submitting to men. It's a choice that you make in marriage to submit to your own husband. And that's a very different, there's a safety in that relationship supposed to be in that. So, but that word really means yield. And so
I like that.
I want to start us off with that kind of point, is that wives, yield to your husbands was a really groundbreaking thing for me because I was always the woman with the plan. I was like, we're going to do this and let's do this. And so I spent a lot of my time trying to talk my husband into something that I wanted to do, rather than hearing his thoughts on it and coming together and like making a plan together. So it was like that yielding to him was listening, was pausing, was literally coming up to a yield sign and hitting the brakes for a second. So it says, it goes through this whole passage on marriage, but as you go down to the end of this section in verse 7, this is just something I noticed from after our conversation with Amanda. It says, husbands, I don't know how many husbands are listening right now, but just in case, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. And even though we're not specifically maybe trying to call men out about this or call husbands out about it, I just felt like there is this fragile season that comes up around the birth of a baby.
Yes.
That we got into in that previous episode.
Yeah.
That made me think of this passage, and that there's some good little nuggets for marriage that are kind of tucked into this.
Oh, I agree totally. I think there's a lot in there because you've, message or referenced what Amanda said and about the fragility of childbirth and how in her birth story, she didn't have a plan that he would come super early and that she'd have a C-section. And there was some complications. And so, she was not able to do all the things that she may have wanted to do.
Her normal independent business owning.
Yes.
Very together.
When I've had cesareans before, and so you have to rely on others those first 6 weeks. And I've learned that if you don't, you're going to pay the price because you will not heal the right way. And so it is very true that you have to kind of pace yourself. And so you have to accept that help and rely on others. And so I know, like she was mentioning that her husband was just her rock and her strength for that time frame.
And in some ways she wasn't surprised. And in other ways she was like, he was thoughtful about things and kind about things. So shout out to Gabe.
Yes. Yes.
But also just to all the husbands that we want to just take some time today to kind of talk about whether you expect your husband to do amazing with everything related to new motherhood and new parenthood, or if you have low expectations for him. Sure. And that maybe asking the Lord to help you to see what you need from each other, what you need from your husband, and to honor him in that. Yeah. And even just to brag on him when he's there for you. So,
definitely. Yeah. And I know Amanda definitely shared a lot too about, that before Levi was conceived, she did have a miscarriage, and that's a part of my story as well. And it is hard because, that's not something you ever want to go through. And, I have 4 beautiful children. And it's, I look at and I think about that all the time, but those periods of time when I had a miscarriage before my first and before my third, that it was definitely a struggle. But it was in those times that we had the most tender times in our marriage as well, because I think husbands feel very helpless during the season when their wife is expecting and they really cannot do anything other than support and encourage them because they can't bear the load at all. Right. And things. And so I do think that it does give an opportunity to have some very tender moments in your marriage.
That aspect of motherhood that this whole season is about is the different angles and pieces of motherhood. This is one that we haven't gotten into until now, that just that interdependence. Yeah. It's so obvious this was God's design, that we need each other through that husbands and wives together create children and create the next generation for that. But it's also just this sweet in the good and in the hard. Yeah. In the heartbreak and in the celebrations. Yeah. It's this bond together. Like you said, it can bring out just the sweetest, it's something that you share in that way. My husband, Dan, and I talk about like when we are excited for something for our kids or worried about something that nobody else to that level as supportive and grandparents are amazing. Friends are amazing, but there's something that you have together that's like, our child is hurting, or our child is so neat, and we're so proud of them. And look at this neat thing that they did, or
absolutely
they showed maturity in something. That we were like, look at that maturity shining through. All those prayers are working.
It's great,
so good.
I know one of the things Amanda said is that she didn't necessarily share a specific verse with us, but she shared that how through those trials and through those triumphs, that she just sets her anchor in that the Lord is her hope. And that she loves that is ever present in her life and in her marriage. And that is just woven, a piece that is woven throughout her day. And I know from Psalm 25:21, it says, my hope is in the Lord. And I think it's as simple as that. Like, do we sit here and think sometimes that, bad things can happen? Yes. Do we think that unfortunate circumstances do come our way. But if our hope and our trust is in the Lord, he is going to provide a way to go beyond whatever is happening to us, whether it's a celebration, a victory, or some kind of a trial that we're going through.
He's walking with us.
Walking with us.
And we're not alone. We're not alone. Our hope is in him.
Yeah.
He's right there with us. And he stays there with us.
Yeah.
So walking through it, that's so true.
She also referenced a lot about community. You know, I think it's very important as we've delved into this concept, the sisterhood of motherhood. And we've seen through our different speakers on the community. Candace spoke about the Commission 127. That is her community to help her in the fostering program that she has been involved in. And so, I mean, it's just, that has been a theme as well. And I love how God has woven that through all of our conversations, and is just pointing us to realize that we cannot do this journey on our own.
Right.
We have to.
If we sound repetitive on this, it's intentional.
It's intentional.
Because we've tried it both ways. I think there have been seasons that everybody has, either you're in a new city maybe and you don't have those relationships yet, or you just have isolated for some reason, whatever that is. But there is a drastic difference in how you can face some of the things that parenting and motherhood specifically require of you without somebody to count on, you know, and that could be family, that could be close friends, and
mentors, different people that, you know, that just
people that are ahead of you, people and peers.
Yeah.
So don't
undervalue that in your life. Like make sure that you create that community, and also that you accept the help that community wants to give you sometimes. You know, I am one of those that tends to reach out to people to say, how can I help you? How can I pray for you? How can I do that? But then when other people do that to me, sometimes I'm like, I'm kind of hesitant to answer those. And I've learned that they're not asking just to ask. They really genuinely want to help.
As
and
you
so,
are. When you do it, you mean it. You mean it when you do.
And so almost don't deprive that other person on helping, because it's through that generosity that they're showing the love of Christ. Right.
And sometimes it might not come the way you think it's going to come.
Yeah.
Like I wanted this, but my person offered this. And so it may feel a little like I could have used diapers instead of a meal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're building relationship.
Yeah.
That God is coming and providing what you need in this season, maybe for another season. And we can testify to that.
Oh, yeah.
That there are times when, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I'm fine either way. But you're really, you don't know when down the road you need them or they're going to need you in that way. So
I really love too that Amanda talked a little bit about her life as a business owner and balancing her work and family life, and, you know, having a newborn, prioritizing and preparing, like going into the season of having a child. She made sure that she prepared her staff. She owns a event company here in town, and she knew that there's going to be events as the baby is born, and she can't just, neglect those events because they're, you know, people are counting on them and things. But she did share about how that is. And so I like that message, because in mothering, it doesn't mean you have to put all that on hold. You know, a lot of people work and have children, and they have different things that they're doing all the time. And whether you are a stay-at-home mom or if you're working in a full-time job, you know, you create those priorities, and you can really foster great things with those.
Yes. And in that expectation thing, preparation is a big part of that, right? Because lining up, like she does have family, and she does have some help for her sweet little baby boy, but scheduling that with her husband, that good communication, those calendar meetings we talked about, you know, all of that can help bring that stress level down when you get into reality hitting you in the face. Like anything you can kind of look ahead a little bit and say, what's coming up? You won't be able to plan everything perfectly and give yourself grace on that, but to be able to look ahead on that is really, it makes a big difference. And I like to see the creative ways that moms figure it out.
Oh, yeah. And that's where you got to share. You got to share those things with each other. And, you know, because what works for me might not work for you, or vice versa.
Or I didn't even think of this creative nanny situation, or asking, having the boldness to ask and say, can I split my time?
When our kids were little, I was involved in a MOPS group, so mothers of preschoolers. And one of the things that there was babysitting swapping, so you watched a friend's children, so then they could go out on a date night and then vice versa. And, it was a very creative option because it was free childcare.
Right.
You weren't,
we did it.
Yeah.
We did it all the time for friends. Especially in times when you or your friends financially sometimes I could afford it and I still didn't like my options for babysitters. Like I was like, I'm just not comfortable. Leaving. This child might not be as obedient to that babysitter or whatever the dynamic was. So to be able to say, we're going to leave you with the family tonight where parents are watching and it's a different dynamic. We're going to go out for an hour or two. Yeah. And we can do that for somebody else. Yeah. Not everybody feels called to that. Not everybody wants that, but that's the kind of creativity that moms will come up with when they're motivated. Mm-hmm. When they 100%. Think ahead of it, get ahead of it.
And it helps to make those long days not seem so long,
something to look forward to.
And I liked listening to not only Amanda and, just kind of hearing that newness, that she has and figuring it all out, and taking it as it comes. But just, she's definitely a very chill new mom, I would say. She just has a great outlook on things. I mean, I'm sure she has her days, but she definitely has encouraged me to also encourage new moms again. Like I know after having her as a guest, I've kind of had my radar out for new moms. Yes. And so, in fact, I was just in the store the other day and saw a new mom and I felt compelled to go up and tell her and just give her some encouragement. You're doing great. Right. I know this is a hard season, and things like that. And who knows, maybe that was the moment that she just needed that little encouragement.
I know anybody that ever complimented my children or smiled and, just have a great day and, not acting like we were causing chaos around in public places. That was always so, the people at the table next to you that are waving and smiling at your kids, so.
And you can do that as well, even if it's not in person.
So little.
You can do it when you see something neat on a post. I've done that as well, where I've just encouraged a new mom or someone like, oh my gosh, that was a great idea. I'm glad you shared that. That's going to encourage other people. And to just, because I think we tend to feel isolated and alone on some things. And it is in that community that we can find the hope that we need to, for sure.
It's so true. Yeah. That, just kind of a recap, wanting to really lean in on this conversation and say, if the Lord is putting on your heart something encouraging, whether it's to your husband who's been helpful or to a friend who's walking through something that you walked through, something similar, or at least you can stand with them in it. Even if you don't know or you haven't experienced it, you can just, be there for them and be encouraging. Ask for help.
Yeah. And receive it.
And receive the help.
Yes.
Even if it's not exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
If you're missing community, create community.
Yeah.
As I think we started this, but I don't know if I said it. It might be the community needs to be at your house.
Sure.
It might mean that you feel like you don't have as much space. You don't have as much, I don't have what I have to offer, but I promise you God will use it.
Yeah,
when you open it up and do it. One time, one last thing I want to share. My mom tells a story of asking God for a bigger house. And she prayed and said, I need a bigger house. I would have all these Bible studies at my house and I would have all these friends over. And she said she felt the Spirit of the Lord say to her, you haven't used the space you have.
Wow. Yeah.
Invite one friend, two friends over to the space you have.
Let's not worry about the big group yet. Worry about the small group.
It's not really, there is a back door opportunity, a back porch opportunity for you right now.
That's great.
And she was like, okay, Lord. So, and she did get a bigger house.
That is just the perfect segue into our closing verse. It's been a great time to reflect with you today, Leigh Ann, and it's just fun to have this opportunity to just share a little bit deeper on the messages that these moms continue to bring to well-grounded into the sisterhood of motherhood. Right. I mean, it really has been. And so our closing verse is from Hebrews 10:24 24-25, and it says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, just like you were saying, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." And we just fully, wholeheartedly believe that we want to encourage all the moms out there, all those that are thinking about, the journey of motherhood and what's going on in your lives, that just, stay the course.
That's
and
right.
to be encouraged.
Be refreshed.
And be encouraged and stay well grounded.